A camera without a lens is useless to a photographer. The lens is what focuses light from what you see through the viewfinder into a tiny 35mm spot on the back of your film or DSLR or mirrorless camera. If you remove the lens from your camera, the only kind of image you can produce is white light. Consequently, a high-quality lens can help you capture great photos even with a cheap camera, while a low-quality lens can make the best camera mediocre and the resulting image quality poor. To meet the needs of different subjects, most of the professional cameras on the market today are equipped with removable lenses or detachable lenses. A wide range of lens options could cover most shooting scenarios. Even the experienced photographer will be hard-pressed to explain the exact differences and function of each particular lens. But knowing more about the functionality, focal length, and the use of the lens can help you to employ it in the right situation. And knowing when to use the correct lens is just one step towards becoming a much better photographer. In this section, we will focus on the detachable lenses adapted to DSLR cameras, and to take a look at the different types of the lenses and when they should be used. Different lenses impact your creativity choice, possibly giving you more artistic control. For example, the focal length of your camera has large bearing on the types of subjects you can shoot and how you might shoot them. This image, for example, leads itself to a wide-angle shooting, which means you want the lens with a short focal length. The ability to shoot with deeper or shallower depth of field also gives you tremendous creative flexibilities. So, for example, you might find that for the types of shoots you would like to take a very fast prime lens with an extremely large aperture is better choice for you than one with the slower lens, because you will be able to shoot with a shallower depth of field. Finally, sometimes a lens just has an ineffable, undefinable quality about it, a particular way that it handles contrast. Maybe there's just something about it that you really like, and so you learn to explore that. And you don't have to have a great lens to shoot great images, but it sure helps. What you do need is the understanding of how to take advantage of your lens, and that understanding begins with focal length. Focal length usually represented in millimeters, and its basic description of a photographic lens. It's not a measurement of the actual length of the lens, but a calculation of an optical distance from the point where light rays converge to form a sharp image of an object to the digital sensor or 35mm film at the focal plate in the camera chamber. The focal length of the lens is determined when the lens is focused at infinity.
也就是说，当我们去确定一个镜头的焦距的时候，那么它对焦的这个点一定是无限远的。
The focal length tells us the angle of view, how much of the scene will be captured, and the magnification, how large individual elements will be. The longer the focal length, the narrower the angle of view is, and the higher of the magnification. The shorter the focal length, the wider the angle of view, and the lower the magnification.
通俗易懂去讲的话，我们的焦距和我们成像的这个范围，它是成反比的啊，大家切记。后面我们会稍微解释一下。
you may find out it's quite difficult to comprehend from the word. As we all know, the physical experiment in the primary school taught us the 小孔成像，对吧？小孔成像这都比较的熟知了。Light travels in a straight line through air. When lights of the burning candle travels through a long cylinder, we shall see an upside-down image of the flame at the end of that cylinder. It is the same principle about camera lens. When we see through a lens and find out the image of the when we see through a lens and find out the image or the movement we see is all upside down. With this in mind, let's move on to the focal length. Please look at the schematic. We have two cameras mounted, two lenses with different focal length. When lights travel through the lens, we will receive an image on the sensor, and the image would be upside down according to the principles we just talked about. And I would like you to pay attention on the focal length and the angle of view. As you all can see in this picture, focal length is larger. The angle of view is narrower. When focal length is small, the angle of view is wider. It can be quite straightforward, but also it could be quite mess your head up. So one more time, 确定一点就是我们的焦距它本身是和我们的这个观看的这个范围是成反比的啊，这个一定要牢记在心。那么我们其实也可以看到，通过这个示意图，这个我们被摄主体在我们这个传感器上的一个影像啊，不只是颠倒，而是它们之间的这个范围啊，这边这个范围距离是相辅相成的啊，所以说我们可以判断，当这个镜头比较长的时候 ，when the lens has a long body, so that means the lens has a longer or larger focal length. So we can see the angle of view about this lens is a little bit narrower. 当这个镜头是比较长的，那么也就意味着它的焦距也会比较长。也就是说，从它的这个光显的显像点到我们的这个传感器之间的距离也会相对来说是比较长的。那么焦距一旦长了的话，它的这个视角，它的这个拍摄的范围一定是比较窄的啊。这就是有关焦距的这么一个理解。Okay, it can be quite overwhelming in the early stage of getting into photography when you find out just how many types cameras lenses there. Camera lenses can be broken down into two types, zoom lens and prime lenses. We will explain that definition with the two cameras are below. Prime lens. Prime lenses have a fixed lens focal length, making them faster and sharper. They are fine-tuned to deliver on one specific type of photography. Because of this, prime lenses produce much higher quality image than a zoom lens in general. But you will need to know in which situation you can use them. For example, the 50mm prime lens, otherwise known as the Nifty 50. 我们中国来讲的话，它也有昵称啊，被称之为叫做小痰盂啊，小痰盂 is perfect for the portraits, as the focal length is seen to be as close to the human eye as possible 啊，就是50定焦的这个镜头呢，它的出现的画面是比较符合我们人眼的这么一个观察的。A 35mm prime lens, on the other hand, is usually best employed by the landscape photographers.
强调一点，就是定焦镜头它无法进行旋转，它只能在特定的焦距下进行对焦，而这个定焦镜头它普遍来说是比较轻便的啊 ，is more lighter and faster 啊，成像的这个速度啊，对焦速度也是会比较快的。另外就是它的这个成像质量在同样的焦段下是要好于我们的这个变焦镜头的当然它相对来说它的成本也会比较低，也就是说它的价格呢会比这个 zoom lens 要稍微的便宜一些。And zoom lens use a series of lenses to allow different focal lengths from a single lens, making them more flexible but not as fast. They contain more glasses, which aids in their flexibility. Which aids in their flexibility, but they also tend to be bigger and heavier than prime lenses. If you are traveling light, though, you can find zoom lenses with much more range, such as an 18 to 270 millimeters, allowing you to photograph both close up and in the distance. 市面上来讲，我们现在一般这个套机里边所配到的应该是这个24105或者是2470啊，它们的这个焦段可变焦段呢稍稍的短了一些。那么一般来讲，这个变焦镜头它的这个光圈是要小于这个定焦镜头的。由于它这个需要很多的透镜组的一块协同合作，所以说光圈它不可能做得太大。For anyone needing to photograph in a diverse range of scenarios or conditions, there's nothing that can really beat a good zoom range for quality and adaptability. It's all around the lens that everyone needs.